Manchester United should not make this mistake that everyone is pushing them to make right now. Because the flavor of the month when it comes to the midfield is Elliot Anderson, and I understand how great his season has been so far. But I need us to still lock in because this is somebody that is playing in a relegation battle. Now, the relegation battle might not be his fault. It might not be a situation where he was put in the platform, but we have cause to concern because this is a player that is doing it in that situation. You get me? But that doesn't mean that great players don't come out of Nottingham Forest when they are in relegation. We have already seen one in Roy Keane that became the greatest midfielder that Manchester United has produced in a long time. However, my question is, or what I am saying is that Manchester United should not make the mistake of leaving Carlos Baleba at Brighton because of this season. Keyword, we cannot make the mistake of leaving Carlos Baleba at Brighton because of this season. This player is magical. He's having a tough season, yes, I understand. And now you see a lot of people talking about him being pulled out in the 22nd minute. But people are not locking in that Fabian Hosler has changed what this guy wants to do, what he wants these players to do. We saw Carlos Baleba last season, and we saw the brilliance that he was. We saw his match against Manchester City, and we saw somebody that was able to outdo every Manchester City midfielder. And now, all of a sudden, he's having a rough season. And instead of us taking advantage of the scouting that we have done, because we cannot be reactionary based on seasons, we need to look at the player's body of work and say, can we buy this player? Should we put money into this player? Yes, I understand that what Brighton asked from us last summer was ridiculous. Based on the conversations that we were seeing, 100 million, 120 million-ish, that kind of situation. What we are seeing right now with this season only just gives me an opportunity to say that we could get Carlos Baleba for cheaper. Right now, his transfer market value is 60 million. Now, it's not usually correct in terms of how much the club would want for the player, but 60 million, or let's say 80 million, is absolutely a good bargain for Carlos Baleba, especially because of what this season has looked like. So now let's look into the situation. Manchester United don't need another name. They don't. We need Carlos Baleba. They don't need luxury passer. They don't need, we just need somebody that will be able to control the chaos that we absolutely get ourselves into. And that is why Carlos Baleba might be the most important signing that they could make in the summer. And I need it because I'm standing on my 2 feet today to tell you that I am backing Carlos Baleba to be the most success story in this situation. I know Elliot Anderson is a talented guy, and what he has shown us this season is remarkable. But trust me when I say this, there is something in Carlos Baleba that is ready for the limelight. There's something in Carlos Baleba that is ready for Old Trafford. He's not flashy. It's not a glorious pick. But structurally, he will be transformative for Manchester United. I'm telling you. The real problem at Man United right now is that since the departure of peak midfield stability of Michael Carrick, United have lacked so many things. We have lacked ball-winning presence. We have lacked transitional control. We have lacked defensive ground coverage. We have lacked athletic intimidation. Let me tell you something for a fact. Elliot Anderson is not intimidating anybody. Is he good? Absolutely. Is he able to run around the field? Absolutely. But athletically, the burst of pace is not there. The strength to carry the ball 5, 10, 20 yards is not there. We need to be crystal clear about this. What Manchester United need is not just about keeping the ball. Even though that is also included, we need somebody that would be able to allow Kobbie Mainoo flourish. That is why Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo has been good so far. But we need somebody replacing Casemiro that will be able to sit in that number 6 position instead of us getting a hybrid of 2 Kobbie Mainoos, because Elliot Anderson is quite the same thing as Kobbie Mainoo. He is quite the same thing. Somebody that's able to get on the ball from the defense and link the ball to the attack. Get on the ball from the midfield. Do 1, 2, 3. Have defensive contributions, but also just keep the ball rolling. What we need is somebody that would unlock Kobbie Mainoo. And that right there is Carlos Baleba. Even when we signed Casemiro, it was a short-term fix. Elite mind, of course. The legs are fading. We all know that. And that's the reason why he's going to be leaving in the summer. That's the reason he's going to be leaving at the end of the season. Under Erik ten Hag, Man United's biggest problem was our midfield spacing. The distances were too big. The recovery speed wasn't there. Baleba fixes that because it's still something that we are dealing with right now. Don't get me wrong, we have been able to figure out a way to fix it with inverted fullbacks or an inverted winger. We have been able to fix it a little bit, but I'm telling you, for us to have the expansive football that we want to have, it all has to do with somebody that will be able to cover that entire space by their lonesome. And that is Carlos Baleba. That right there is Carlos Baleba. And I repeat, it is not Elliot Anderson. Yes, you can clip me, I understand that. But I'm saying, based on what I've been able to see, Carlos Baleba is the guy. He is the guy. And Manchester United scouts should not start faltering in what they have seen. I understand Elliot Anderson is great. But Elliot Anderson would do best at Manchester City. Elliot Anderson will do best at Arsenal. He will do best the team that already has the midfield. Not the team that is going to be demanding or looking for an anchor for his midfield. I need you guys to understand this. What we have seen at Nottingham Forest is Elliot Anderson having the ball go through him, but not being a changing factor to them even getting up the league. And I know that might be small-minded in the way I'm thinking in that situation. But for Carlos Baleba, what we saw last season, what we saw that attracted all of us to Carlos Baleba is still present, and we absolutely should not go away from the fact that we saw something brilliant from him. We all watched AFCON and what he was able to do for Cameroon at AFCON. He was the best midfielder until they got knocked out in the quarterfinals, if I'm not mistaken. He is that guy. At Brighton Hove Albion, he has developed into a high possession, high press system. Arguably one of the smartest tactical environments in England. Under the Brighton model, post Moises Caicedo era, Baleba, he isn't just a destroyer. He's a progressive carrier. He's a press-resistant turner. He's a vertical passer. He's a recovery monster. Tell me that's not all we need in Manchester United from our defensive midfielder. He's also a midfielder that can play centrally. Tell me that is not what we need from our defensive midfielder. Somebody that will be able to get the ball from Lisandro Martinez or from Harry Maguire or from whoever, Matthijs de Ligt. Take the ball, take 2 men, 3 people, themselves running, giving Bruno Fernandes the opportunity to have a Titanic of space for him to be able to play the ball into Šeško. Tell me he's not somebody that will be able to get the ball, turn around, turn 2 players, beat the first press, pass the ball to Kobbie Mainoo and let Kobbie Mainoo do his magic. Tell me that's not Carlos Baleba. Tell me that Carlos Baleba is not the person that would see us in transitional defense and not be able to be fast enough to recover, just like what we saw against West Ham when Adama Traore was running in the transition against us. And we saw the likes of Mbeumo and Ahmad catch up and actually get there before Adama Traore. That is what we need. Somebody that is fast enough to go forward and go back in quick successions and have the lungs enough for N'Golo Kante. That is what we need. And that right there is what we should be getting in a midfielder, especially a defensive midfielder. We need to get a specialist and not a hybrid. We need to get, let me say that again so we can understand. We need to get a specialist and not a hybrid. Because Elliot Anderson is a box-to-box midfielder in my mind. And we have that already in Kobbie Mainoo. And what we need is a solid anchor that would be able to guard every single situation. Defend the defense before we even move forward. That is what we need. And we should not be going away from it. Because he had a bad season. And in fact, if you guys must have somebody of Elliot Anderson's skill set, I can give you another option that is not going to be as expensive as Elliot Anderson, that could be an understudy to Kobe Mainoo, and that is Mamadou Sangare of RC Lens. Mamadou Sangare. Let me tell you the truth. I was literally doing research on those kinds of players, and this kid popped out to me. So we are going to basically be pinning up here the video that I'm going to make about what he would bring instead of us getting Elliot Anderson and paying £100 million for Elliot Anderson that is not proven to do it multiple times in the Premier League. I don't want to make this mistake. I truly don't want us to make this mistake, but it looks like that is where Man United fans are going to. What this guy brings to a team is key for Manchester United. Don't just need tackles. We don't just need tackles. We need somebody that can win it and move it. Yes, Ruben Amorim, that was his number one target. Yes, it should still be our number one target. In case we want to play multiple systems, Ruben system, Carrick system, Mourinho system, whichever situation, this guy has played it before. He knows how to play it. He's tactically brilliant, and he's somebody that has been training to be in the limelight since he was a kid. Now let's look at Baleba's averages. Elite ground duel numbers, we know that for a fact. High progressive carries, we know that for a fact. Interceptions in transitional moments, we know that. But most importantly, he runs relentlessly. He is the engine that Manchester United need. Let's look back a little bit. The engine arguments. Let's give you guys a second to look at the whole situation. Manchester United historically thrive when they have a physical dominance in the midfield. Think Roy Keane. Think Paul Pogba in his physical spells at Manchester United. Think early Nemanja Matic. Think those. In fact, go ahead and think about Paul Scholes, whether he was smaller, but this is somebody that was dominant when it comes to spaces. Think those players. Think Park Ji-sung. Baleba brings 90 minutes of sprint capacity. He is going to keep running for 90 minutes, and that we can guarantee. You're looking about long stride ball recovery. He is going to be able to collect the ball and take it on. He got that Amadou Onana's kind of tackles. He got that Aaron Wan-Bissaka kind of tackles. But the key part about it is that he does not go down because he's always able to get there right in time. Talk about aggressive counter press. We lose the ball and he's on top of you already. That's what we need from a defensive midfielder. Talk about defensive transitions covered so low. That is what we need from a defensive midfielder. We need everybody to be able to do their jobs instead of us getting somebody that says, oh, we need to work together in order for us to cover the defensive midfield role. No! Allow one person so we can push Kobe Mainoo forward. Instead of having number 6s in a double pivot, we have one sitting number 6 and we have 2 number 10s. That is what we should be having, because the goal for Michael Carrick is for us to have at least 5, if not 6 people in the attacking lineup. That's the reason, and that's the one thing that his assistant coach has literally been known for. Having 5 people attacking at one particular time. And that's what we need. That right there. And that's what I'm standing on. And I'm trying to make this video now so everybody understands that Carlos Baleba is what we need. He shrinks the pitch defensively. And he's so good at it. And that right there is what Manchester United lacks. Because Casemiro doesn't have the legs. Ugarte does have the legs, but doesn't have, I'm sorry to say, but just doesn't know how to at this point into shrinking the pitch. So let's look at the tactical breakdown. In a 4-2-3-1 system, Baleba is technically controller. Bruno deeper or in the number 10 position. We can both have those. Baleba in this situation becomes the roaming ball winner, the transitional sweeper, and the vertical link into attack. Because guess what? Baleba is a 6'1" guy that is able to jump and win his aerial duels. He's not scared of physicality. In the 4-3 situation, Baleba is going to be the left 8. Because if you want to have that situation, let him. because he can drive forward. He attacks the half spaces. He covers the fullbacks, overlaps. Come on now. When Luke Shaw is overlapping, and we know that Luke Shaw cannot drive all the way back, Baleba steps in. And there's nothing you can do about it, because he goes in there and he feels at home wherever he is in the pitch. His ball carrying ability and the tempo that he sets will truly be different. United currently move side to side. Maybe we'll change the flanks. Maybe we'll go vertical. But we don't go as quick as we should. We don't go on the ground beating 2, 3, 4 players. That is the reason that we saw Manchester City have a problem against Nottingham Forest last season. Not because of Elliot Anderson, but because of Morgan Gibbs-White. That is the reason why we saw them have problems with Aston Villa. Not because of Ollie Watkins, but because of the other kid that plays well for them. I've forgotten his name. What's his name? Morgan Rogers. Because they are able to beat your tactics based on just them carrying the ball and moving forward. Baleba moves them forward. We move forward because Baleba will be in our team. So let's look at the age and the upside. Baleba is 20 years old. Premier League adapted, physically elite, tactical, coachable, and Brighton don't recruit emotionally. They recruit based on profiles. If they replace Caicedo with Baleba, that tells you something. This isn't hype. It's just succession planning for Brighton. And what can we see in Moises Caicedo? Arguably the best number 6 in the world right now, competing with Declan Rice. But the truth about it is, in my mind, what we are looking at might be, if not better, than Moises Caicedo. And let's not make the big mistakes. The big question is he polished enough? No. Let's be frank with ourselves. He is not polished enough. But guess what? We have an opportunity to shine him. We got an opportunity to buy him on the cheap, shine him up, and get him to the place that we all seen that he can get to last season. But United don't need the polish as much. They just need the presence. Because in my mind, what we should be building on is not just the first 11. We also need to be building the depth. And if we spend 150 million or 100 and something million on Elliot Anderson, there is no way we are building depth. There is no way we are going to be able to get a left winger. There's no way we are able to go to get an attacker that is going to replace Joshua Zirkzee. There is no way we are going to get a left centre back or a right centre back when Harry Maguire leaves. There is no way we're able to get a right-sided fullback if we are not able to absolutely act smart. And if the next era is not about intensity, athleticism, and vertical football, Baleba is definitely the answer, and that is what we are seeing. Manchester United needs to get intensity up. We need to get our athleticism up. We need to get our vertical football up, and Baleba is the foundation stone for that. He is. So let's absolutely not mess this up and go choose Elliot Anderson because he's the flavor of the month. Let's stick to what we have been able to scout, and let's go get Carlos Baleba. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the follow button, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.